We were all absolutely convinced that the brilliant actor John Oliver stepping onto the canvas meant we were finally going to see the face of the mysterious contact, the elusive man pulling the strings from Geneva. We all thought he was the one meeting with Valentine to expose the dirty agents. But, ladies, wipe that theory right off the board because the truth that is about to hit the screen is so much bigger, so much darker, and so much more personal than international espionage. The script leaks suggest a twist that will shatter at least 3 different households, and if you ask me, we are not prepared for the emotional devastation that is about to unfold. Let us talk about Ethan for a second. If you ask me, Ethan has always been a wild card, but his recent behavior has crossed the line from being a charming rogue to an outright calculated villain. We all know he has been parading around town, acting like he holds all the absolute power and all the cards. He orchestrated a brilliant, yet entirely malicious, manipulative scheme to convince everyone that he is the biological father of little baby Phoebe. He stole medical evidence, he tampered with the DNA results in the hospital laboratory, and he built a massive fortress of lies just to gain leverage and power in this town. He has been using this fake paternity to back people into a corner, especially Ava. But ladies, what happens when a fortress is built on sand? It inevitably crumbles. And the man holding the sledgehammer is none other than Phoebe's actual biological father. That is right, guys. The mysterious newcomer is not some international spy or government director. He is a desperate, grieving father who has spent years tracking down his missing daughter. Imagine the sheer emotional weight of this man stepping off the docks into our beloved, chaotic town. He has a singular, laser-focused mission: to find his little girl, pack her bags, and get her as far away from the toxic, vicious cycle of this town as humanly possible. He does not want the mob wars, he does not want the corporate espionage, and he certainly does not want a con artist like Ethan claiming his flesh and blood as a pawn in some twisted game. This man's arrival is the ultimate catalyst. It is the first domino in a chain reaction that is going to bring absolute ruin to the people who thought they were untouchable. Let us trace the domino effect, starting with Ethan himself. For weeks, we have watched Ethan strut around the art gallery, engaging in flirtatious, arrogant banter with Ava. He thought he had her exactly where he wanted her. He thought his blackmail was absolutely foolproof. But the moment this mysterious father steps into the picture, holding the undeniable, irrefutable proof of his true paternity, Ethan's entire world is going to implode in spectacular fashion. I can already picture the sheer terror in Ethan's eyes when he realizes his manipulative scheme is collapsing right in front of him. He is no longer the predator, he is the prey. The real father is not going to just ask nicely. He is going to apply a suffocating amount of pressure, cornering Ethan and demanding a public, humiliating confession. Ethan is going to be living in a state of constant, paralyzing paranoia, terrified that Ava, Alexis, and the rest of the town will discover he is nothing but a massive fraud. He has built his entire current identity around this devastating lie. He has used the child to force meetings, to extort money, and to insert himself into the high society of the town. When the truth comes out, he will be completely ostracized. The legacy family he is tied to will turn their backs on him in absolute disgust. He will be facing severe legal charges for fraud, forgery, and potentially kidnapping by deception. The panic is going to make him erratic, reckless, and incredibly dangerous. When a rat is cornered, ladies, it bites. And Ethan is going to bite anyone who gets too close to his shattering secret. And speaking of getting close to secrets, Ava never misses a single beat. If you ask me, Ava has the sharpest instincts of anyone in this town. She already senses that something is incredibly off about Ethan's sudden, intense attachment to Phoebe. Ava is a survivor, and she knows a con when she sees one. When she spots this mysterious stranger lurking around the gallery or the hospital, asking very specific questions about the baby, her radar is going to go off immediately. Ava is a master investigator when her own interests are at stake. She is going to dig, she is going to snoop, and she is going to uncover the massive DNA fraud that Ethan has been desperately trying to keep buried in the archives. This puts Ava in the most delicious, dramatic predicament we have seen in years. What does she do with this explosive, life-ruining information? On one hand, she could form an unholy alliance with Ethan, helping him cover up his crimes just to keep the status quo and perhaps use his extreme vulnerability to her own advantage. She could hold this massive secret over his head forever, making him her absolute, unquestioning puppet. She could force him to do her bidding against her own enemies. But on the other hand, Ava is a mother. She knows the agonizing, soul-crushing pain of losing a child. We all remember the tears she shed in the past. Could she really look this desperate, grieving father in the eye and deny him his rightful daughter? If Ava chooses to help the real father, she completely destroys Ethan, effectively neutralizing the blackmail threat he posed to her. But doing so means unleashing a storm of legal and emotional chaos that will drag everyone down with it. Ava would have to admit that she knew about the fraud, which could implicate her as an accessory after the fact. Alexis would have a field day with her on the witness stand. Ava's internal conflict is going to be the absolute highlight of the season. Will her maternal instincts override her need for power and control? Or will she sacrifice a little girl's future just to keep Ethan under her perfectly manicured thumb? Now, ladies, let us look at the next domino to fall, and this is the one that truly breaks my heart into a million pieces. Think about Brooklyn and Harrison. They have been pouring their hearts and souls into adopting little Phoebe. They have been preparing the nursery, picking out tiny clothes, and dreaming of their beautiful future as a family. Brooklyn is already hanging on by a fragile thread. She is drowning in the guilt, the terror, and the immense pressure of her plot to frame Willow for the hit and run. Her marriage to Harrison is already standing on a volatile landmine. Now, imagine the doorbell ringing, and it is a judge, or Alexis, or this mysterious father telling them that the entire adoption is null and void because the biological father is here to claim his child. If you ask me, losing Phoebe will be the absolute breaking point for Brooklyn. It will be the emotional devastation that pushes her completely over the edge into madness. She has been playing these dangerous, manipulative games with Willow and the police, but her love for that baby is pure and genuine. When the real father demands his daughter back, aiming to take her far away, Brooklyn is going to fight like a wounded lioness. She will hire the best lawyers, she will scream, she will cry, but legally, she will have absolutely no ground to stand on. Especially since the initial placement was based entirely on Ethan's fraudulent DNA test, the fallout for Brooklyn and Harrison will be catastrophic. Harrison is a dedicated detective. He took an oath to uphold the law, to seek the truth, no matter how much it hurts. If he finds out that the baby he has been loving and caring for was placed in his home based on a fraudulent criminal DNA test, his entire moral compass will spin out of control. He will be torn between his duty to the legal system and his love for his devastated wife. He will have to be the one to physically hand the baby over to the real father. Can you imagine the emotional trauma of that scene? This could be the exact moment their marriage shatters into a million irreparable pieces. And we absolutely cannot forget Alexis. Oh, guys, Alexis is going to be pulled right into the dead center of this legal hurricane. As a brilliant legal mind, she will likely be called upon to untangle this massive, convoluted web of lies. Alexis has fought the toughest legal battles in this town. She has gone up against mobsters, corrupt politicians, and vicious killers. But a custody battle involving a forged DNA test, a desperate biological father, and a heartbroken adoptive family? That is the kind of case that drains the soul. Whether she represents the real father in his custody battle, or tries to mitigate the disaster for Brooklyn and Harrison, Alexis is going to be facing one of the most complex, emotionally draining cases of her entire career. But hold on, ladies, because we have to look at the flip side of this theory. What if this mysterious father is not the innocent, grieving victim he claims to be? What if his hidden agenda involves something far more sinister than just taking his daughter home? We are talking about a town where nobody's hands are completely clean. What if he is using his biological tie to Phoebe as a Trojan horse to infiltrate the high society and the criminal underworld of the city? Perhaps he is secretly aligned with a rival faction, or maybe he owes a massive debt to someone dangerous, and he needs the child to secure a ransom or a massive inheritance. If he is secretly a villain, then Ethan's manipulative scheme, ironically, might have been the only thing keeping Phoebe safe all this time. Let us twist it even further, because, the writers love to keep us guessing. What if Ava decides to play both sides of the fence? What if she promises to help the real father navigate the legal system, but secretly tips off Ethan to see how far he is willing to go to protect his massive lie? Ethan is a desperate man, and desperate men do incredibly dangerous, unpredictable things. If Ethan feels that he is about to lose everything, his reputation, his leverage over Ava, his freedom, he might do the unthinkable. He might actually kidnap Phoebe himself and go on the run. Can you imagine the sheer, unadulterated panic? The real father, Brooke Lynn, Harrison, and the entire police force hunting down Ethan in a desperate race against time. The impact on the legacy family dynamics cannot be overstated. Ethan is supposed to carry a certain weight, a certain historical prestige in this town. For him to stoop to the level of forging DNA to claim a child he has absolutely no biological right to is a massive, unforgivable stain on his family's honor. When the truth finally comes out, the betrayal will be felt across generations. The people who trusted him, the people who defended him against his detractors, will realize they were nothing but disposable pawns in his selfish, narcissistic game. The emotional shrapnel from this explosion will hit every single corner of the canvas, leaving scars that will take years to heal. Guys, if you ask me, we are looking at a storyline that is going to fundamentally change the landscape of the entire show. The arrival of this desperate father is the spark that is going to ignite a massive, unavoidable powder keg. Ethan's lies, Ava's dark secrets, Brooke Lynn's impending heartbreak, and a little girl's entire future are all hanging precariously in the balance. Will Ava do the right thing and help a father reunite with his child, or will she use this explosive secret to become the most powerful, untouchable woman in town? Will Ethan confess his sins before he is utterly destroyed, or will he double down on his deception and risk prison? And most importantly, when the dust finally settles and the tears stop falling, who will actually be left holding that precious baby girl